Aloha, everybody. Calling in from Big Bear. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Tiki Tuesday Talks. We have Ivy Mix on this one. Let's bring everybody in to say hello here.
Hello.
Hey. Ivy, you're at the bar.
I'm at the bar. Here I am.
How's it going over there?
Well, we're about to open up here in a little bit, in a few hours. So I'm just sitting here and watching the world go by and hoping it doesn't start to hail, which is in the forecast. So never a dull moment when outside's the only place you can sit, you know?
Indeed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Guillaume, where are you calling in from?
Oh, I am in a beautiful Cape Cod.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm in my office. Really, that's where I have been since March. And I'm so glad to see all of you guys, and most importantly, to see Ivy in her bar. That's a wonderful thing. I love that site.
Yeah, it's a little normal. A little bit of normal in oddity is being in the bar. It's a little weird.
Man, can't wait to get back and have a daiquiri at that bar. I can tell you that.
Great idea. Great idea. Steva, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just on the road again, trying to make it work here.
Oh, yeah. We have had rain every day in Birmingham for the last week and a half. We benefit from those two converging hurricanes. You know, we're a little bit north, so it's going to be great. Great. Everything's great. It's great.
Faith,
Sounds like you need a drink.
doing?
Yeah, right?
Hi, calling from Washington, D.C. I'm just at home. Yeah.
Good
Not
on
much to
DC.
report from D.C.
Nothing going on in DC these days, right?
It's a little political here. Yeah.
We'll skip that. Let's talk about rum and tiki tricks. All right, moving on. Let's give you guys a little heads up of what to expect. So, Ivy, author and owner of Leyenda, as well as co-founder of Speed Rack and all-around badass, stories from the Sugarcane Trail. So she's going to be talking to us about the journey of writing her book and discovering things and all that. A little bit of kind of housekeeping. First of all, chat box and questions. If you guys are on Zavi, you have the chat box. You can ask us questions there. As well, if you're on Facebook Live, sharing the event is simple. Tip jar, if you're in a spot to do so. Venmo is at IB-Mix. It's much appreciated. Presentation will be 30 to 40 minutes. Cocktail session for 10, and then 5 questions with the Tiki fam. A little bit about Ivy. So, co-owner, head bartender of Leyenda, Pan Latin cocktail bar in Carroll Gardens in Brooklyn. A super awesome bar. Love being there. Wish I could be there right now. Backed by her long-term mentor, Julie Reiner, who I'm sure many of you know. She started bartending and living in Guatemala with extensive travels through all of Latin America. Leyenda has won a number of awards, as well as being recognized as one of the best bars in America by Eater, GQ, Thrillist, and others. And she just put out her first book, which we have a code for. which we put in our newsletter. I'm sure Ivy will talk about it. So she's recognized as being one of the best bartenders in the country. In 2015 was named American Bartender of the Year at the Tales of the Cocktail Spirit Award and Mixologist of the Year by Wine Enthusiast. So without further ado, let's get Ivy on and have this chat.
Yay! Howdy again. Well, I'm super excited to be here and kind of talk about my relationship with rum and sugarcane spirits in general, kind of my history of my love and interest in sugarcane spirits, and also kind of where I am now compared to where I was both before I opened up this bar, Leanda, that I'm in, and furthermore, where I ended up after I wrote my book. So I'm really excited to do that. The slides are just kind of bullet points. Look at that beautiful rainbow thank you keynote for the presentation format.
Feels vibey. Feels good.
Yeah, love it. So yeah, I was just going a little bit here. So where did my obsession with rum begin? So I'm not sure if people really know who I am or what my story is, but I originally was born and raised in a tiny town in central Vermont called Tunbridge. Population hovering around the 700, 750 mark. 4 of those 750 people were my family, and everyone was kind of a different version of myself.
Wow.
Yeah, super small. My passion in life, what I thought I was going to do my whole life, was actually horseback riding. I was a competitive horseback rider. I trained horses for most of my life until I went to college. But the only place I'd ever been to, apart from Vermont and a few northeastern states, was actually Jamaica. My parents, before my sister and I were born, I have a twin, before my sister and I were born, my parents discovered this tiny town on the other side of the Blue Mountains from Kingston in the Portland parish, and they started going there a lot. And after my sister and I were born, we were really sick when we were born, very premature, spent a long time in the hospital. And then when we got out, it was in the middle of winter in central Vermont. My mom was essentially like, screw this, we're gonna go down to Jamaica. So we did, and I'll talk a little bit about it later on in the chat, but in Jamaica, rum is a huge part of their culture and tradition. And my sister and I were partially raised by a Jamaican woman who literally did all the stuff. Sorry, this is the joys of working in a bar. Who really did all the stuff, like, when we were teething, would put overproof rum on our teeth, or like if we were sick, we would get like a compress with overproof rum on it. So that was my first intro to rum, but didn't really know much about it. The first cocktail I ever made for my mother when I was a kid, like literally a kid, she read it in the book. She's like, I never did that. And I'm like, yeah, you did. Was literally, she called it rum popo, literally just Jamaican rum cut up with some fresh squeezed, tiny little Caribbean limes in there. Kind of like a tea punch-ish. Fast forward, I ended up moving to Guatemala when I'm in college. First place I'd ever really traveled by myself. Really got a deep dive into different cultures and places, and just kind of stirred up in me this travel bug and kind of a desire for otherness that was not central Vermont, right? I started bartending in that part of the world, and then kind of spent the next 4 years throughout my college education traveling to different places throughout Central South America. A lot of it had to do with booze, particularly when I went to Mexico. I learned a lot about mezcal. Fast forward, I moved to New York in 2008. I had a spectacularly useless degree in fine art and philosophy, and the economy had and the economy had just collapsed. So, worthless degree plus crashed economy equaled cocktail bar. Seems like I can be creative there and work. And this was about 2009, and I started to try to get into the cocktail scene in New York City. Where's that next slide, Julie Reiner? Is that the one that's up right now or no? Sorry. Okay, so I just want to point out to this slide right here. So yeah, so that's me, and the next one's me too, in Lani Kai, which is basically when I first, discovered that I really want to do the bartending thing because I could make money, and I was really interested in these different spirits. I heard that Lani Kai was opening. Before that, I was bartending a few different places around the city, kind of like doing whatever. I got my first cocktail job at Fort Defiance, the now closed Fort Defiance. But
oh man,
I know
that bar, such a great bar.
The best bar. I know St. John's like an alum of Tiki by the Sea. He's the owner. But
indeed, yeah.
He actually told me, he was like, "Hey, Julie Reiner is opening up this bar, this tiki bar." And then she was quick to correct me, that's not what it was. But Lani Kai was in Soho on Broome Street, a huge bar, duplex, upstairs, downstairs, specializing in rum. And, in 2010, beginning of 2010 and 2009, or it was just 2010, there wasn't that many places that were doing huge, massive rum selections. You had your Maya Wells, right, who were doing the tequila and mezcal. I worked there as a cocktail waitress, but very few places were like, here are these tropical drinks, these really amazing rums, beyond your mainstream kind of distilled to the point of vodka rums, right? Like, here are all these rums from all these different places in the world, and we're going to make drinks out of them. And that was the first place I started to realize that rum was bigger than your, spiced rum and Coke. I started to realize the complexity of rums, started to understand the nuances of rums, the differences of rums from different geographical locations, and really started to get into the different flavor profiles of it. I had a lot of knowledge in mezcal before that. And then because of Julie giving me this break at this high profile bar, I really started to deep dive into rum and tiki, actually. It was funny, last night I did a presentation, I did an Instagram live with Shan Mustafa, who I know has done one of these before. She wrote Tiki, of the also now closed Gladys. We had a conversation yesterday about her book and like the difference between tiki and tropical, right? Julie was very adamant about Lani Kai not being a tiki bar. At this time, Painkiller had just opened in New York, Giuseppe Gonzalez's place. And they were like tiki madness, like, drinking in scorpion bowls and all very ornate. And Julie was, if anyone remembers Painkiller, it was like in a basement. It's kind of
I do.
Good decision.
I do. That's where it's one of the first places I met Brother Cleve DJing in the DJ hall over there. What an experience!
So insane, and again, another now closed bar, but I think it's a really interesting point. The idea of being tropical rather than tiki. And I really got into this idea of tropical drinks, tropical flavors, and rum carrying those flavors. Fast forward, next slide.
Yeah, and just a note on Lani Kai.
Yeah.
I ended up there way before I ever ended up in the spirits business, and it was such a rad bar, really an experience, amazing bartender crew. So I probably had a drink from you there and didn't even know it.
Probably, yeah. I worked the slowest. I worked Tuesday nights where we did like $500 in sales, and then I did Saturday nights where we did like 15,000, and it was like Club Lani Kai. We had like swizzles lined up on the bar for down the line, like so crazy.
Awesome.
But yeah, so then fast forward from that. That's how I met Julie. Went from Lani Kai to Clover Club, where I worked for 4 years. And then I got to open up my bar. This is me, younger and thinner from Stressed Out opening a bar. And this is me now in the same bar. So that was 2015 that we opened up Leyenda. And the point of Leyenda, Julie asked me that we have the same landlord as Clover Club. And Julie called me after I'd been trying to open my own bar for quite some time and was like, where do you want to open up a tequila and mezcal bar? We have a space across the street. And my response was, not really. I wasn't really interested in opening up another tequila, taco, chimichanga, Cinco de Mayo thing. Wasn't really my speed or my vibe. I was more interested in celebrating, maybe using those like tequila that was starting to be featured in rap songs and whatever, and it was becoming to be cool rather than like, ew, I won't touch that. I wanted to use that as a gateway drug, for lack of a better term, into the rest of spirits from this part of the world. Like, why is it that we have, you have your equator, which happens to be kind of like the sugar belt, right? A little bit wider and thicker. And why is it that like this part of the world, like we have like music that comes from this part of the world that's a little bit more upbeat, the spirits that come from this part of the world a little bit more flavorful. The art is brighter, there's all these different things I want to dive into, and I want to celebrate that at Leyenda. So it was 2015, and we are a Pan-Latin inspired cocktail bar, and we have everything from rum or sugarcane distillates from all over the world. We have everything from, Plantation 3-Star, which I'm going to use a cocktail, you make a cocktail with later, to like rum from Guadalupe, to cachaça, to claren, to agriculture. Woo woo, cachaça. And yeah, so that was then. And I learned a lot trying to open up the bar about a whole bunch of different spirits. Like I was, even when I worked at Clover Club, which is more of like a gin, whiskey, martini, old fashioned type of bar, when we did cocktail creation, I'm like, over there, because that's where it is, I can see it. It's right there. But when we did the cocktail creation there to put in the menu, I was always doing the rum drinks and the cachaça drinks and the mezcal drinks, the tequila drinks. So I was really excited to, do that in this program. Fast forward, next slide. I wrote a book. I'm a kind of a project person. I feel like every 3 to 5 years, I need a new project in my life. So after Leyenda had been open for 2 years, I was like, what's next? Now that I'm not dying from that stress, let's do something else. And I was approached about writing a book. And the first thing that I was asked was, what do you want to write a book about? And I was like, well, I can tell you that I don't want to write a book about what it's like to be a woman in the industry. I'm frequently asked, or what was asked a lot back then, more so than now, thank God, kind of just what's it like being a woman? How's it different being a woman than a man? And this is because of all the work that I did on Speed Rack over the years. So I was like, I'd like to write a book on Latin spirits, kind of take after Leyenda and write a book about this bar, and not necessarily this bar, but the spirits that we celebrate in this bar, and how there is such a thing as cultural terroir. The thesis of the book is really, you have terroir, which is, the French term that we usually use for wine. Is the reason why a Chardonnay from France maybe tastes different from a Chardonnay from California. Has to do with climate and weather and this and that, and also culture. But I think that cultural terroir is so important, and it's a reason why when you're sipping a daiquiri, you're not thinking to yourself like, this just reminds me of an Irish pub, right? It kind of transports you. Right? It's a little bit different. So I started writing, and I decided I was going to split the book in, after it's a long and tumultuous process, writing a book, very difficult. After some trials and tribulations, I knew I wanted to focus on history. I knew I wanted to focus in on the cultural significance of these spirits. And then I knew I wanted to obviously make cocktails. And I started writing, and I was like, I'm going to separate this book into 3 sections: agave, sugarcane, and grape. And the reason, let's see, what's the next slide, please? Maybe this one? Next one. Well, maybe not. I'll keep talking. So the reason why I want to split the book, yes, here we go, into these sections was because, in its essence, spirits, booze, everything that we consume is just an agricultural product. And I wanted to take the information about these agricultural products and talk about them that way, and then how we get the spirits from them. A big part of the book is talking about the mestizo cultures that compose Latin America and the Caribbean, really thinking about people who were already here in this so-called New World, the people who came, who, this world was new to them, and the other people who came with the colonizers who were slaves, brought over from Africa, mostly to do sugarcane harvesting and growing and all that. So the slide just said, was like, the process of writing a book and how little I knew before. Well, wow, I did not know how little I knew. And I think you talk to so many people who write a book, and you go into it being like, I'm writing a book because I know about this stuff. And I went into this knowing about it for sure. Like, I had lots of confidence. I passed bar 5-day. I've done a bunch of certification. I've read all these different books. And when I went to go write my own, I was like, constantly having imposter syndrome. Like, is this right? Checking the internet, really going through it. And one of the things that I learned the most about, and really the place I had to do some of the most work and some of the most detangling, was in the rum category. So rum is, and I like to say sugarcane, because rum can be kind of limiting in how we categorize different sugarcane distillates. When we say rum, yes, we mean a distillate that's made from sugarcane, right? But there's so many other out there that maybe don't go by that name, like cachaça. For a long time, people like, it's Brazilian rum.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. And I have this quote in the book from not a rum person, but from Graciela Angeles from Real Minero Mezcal. And she said this thing to me because I accidentally called a molino, the stone that you crush the agaves with, you call it a molino in Oaxaca. In tequila, you call it a tajona. And I called this wheel a tajona, speaking to her, and she was like, I'll translate it. She said, Ivy, if you, can you guys hear my Slack going off in the background? I'm just going to quit this really quick. She said, Ivy, if you rob us of our language, you rob us of our culture and everything that the spirit signifies. So don't misuse words. I feel like it's really important to talk about sugarcane distillates rather than just rum, because you are robbing people of their language. And language is as intertwined with identity as our food and our drink and the flavors and the music and the art. So I really think it's important to say that. So, so I start and I look in and I start reading, and I can talk forever. Let's go to the next slide. I got to rum categorization. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting in rum categorization was, how do we categorize rum? For those people watching that don't know, it's a bit of a slippery slope, the rum categorization side of things. In the book, I decided to take the path that many find to be antiquated, of categorizing rum based on the different styles of rum that have come out, which many people attribute to the different colonizing efforts of the places that have gone in there. So, for instance, English style, Spanish style, French style, which Brazilian kind of like falls in that realm. Rather than taking the Gargano seal method, made by the folks from Bellier and Foursquare, really looking at rum from more of a, what kind of still is it in, really informational, super excellent knowledge. But in my head, it was kind of against my thesis, which was all of this history really is a reason why we taste the things we taste in our rum. So I started writing the book, did a bunch of research. My favorite thing about how little I knew and like kind of my total imposter moment was I was writing and researching, and you know, there are some books on rum with a capital R, rum, that most people categorize rum as, but sugarcane, like trying to find, I mean, I wrote Pete, I was like, hey, do you have any books on cachaça? And like, no, I've got books on, you know, the African slave trade in Brazil and sugarcane agriculture and like really good information. But the only book I could find on cachaça was when I went to Brazil and I got a book in Portuguese. And I'm fluent in Spanish, but you know, I had to like hobble my way through this Portuguese book on cachaça.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's so little information in depth in English on the category. It's really amazing.
It's crazy, and you know, and so that was one of the things, like really struggling trying to get this information. And James Carpenter, who I helped write who was like my editor and co-author. We had a process where like I would write and he would edit and then we discuss it, and then I would write and he would edit and we discuss it. And at one point we were like, we need more information on cachaça, and then he read me this quote. He's like, here's this quote on cachaça. I'm like, oh my God, that's so good. Where'd that come from? He was like, oh, that was you in an EATR article from 2 years ago. And I was like, like, so, oh, like, oh, right. Like, okay, sure.
Just quote yourself in your own book. That's going to be the way.
Right. I mean, it was just really hard to get information. So I did a bunch of research on history, and then I got to go to the places. And that's why I kind of want to go to the next slides and walk you all through a little bit about why, you know, the story of this seminar is like stories from the Sugarcane Trail. I just want to talk a little bit more about it. So I'm just gonna go through some of these slides and poke through and like, tell you the things that I learned. This here is a dunder pit at the Hamden Estates in Jamaica. So famous for doing high ester, super funky rum. The funny thing about what I thought I knew, and this is my favorite thing about talking about writing this book. I'm not sure if you all remember that MTV special from when at least I was young, like you think you know, but you have no idea. That's what I feel like writing this book was like for me. I was like, I know. And then I didn't. So going to go to Jamaica, back to Jamaica, where I spent time as a kid, and like going to go see all these different producers and distilleries was super eye-opening, especially because in the bartending community, we're all like, dunder, dunder, dunder this, dunder that, funky this, funky that. We're all super into the high ester.
Dunder Mifflin.
What? Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I discovered in the book is that, you know, I couldn't really put Jamaican rum under the same categorization as just English style rum. You know, after going to St. Lucia, and I've actually, where else did I go? St. Lucia? I can't even remember. But I really got to dive into what the different flavor nuances were and the history of these flavors. And I think that the dunder style is such an interesting story. You know, there's all these like rumors of like people just like throwing like goat carcasses into these pits for the crazy fermentation. But it wasn't really like that at all, or it doesn't have to be. It's this really long fermentation, really super funky and super awesome. So next slide.
Yeah, we actually had Joy Spence on last week, which was really rad.
Oh, really? Oh, sick.
Yeah.
So speaking of cachaça, this is actually in Brazil. My mind was blown by what I experienced in Brazil with cachaça. It's a massive country. People don't seem to like recognize that, but it is freaking huge. And the climates from the tippy top north to the south are vary drastically. Different types of sugarcane grow in different areas. It is extremely terroir driven from the terroir sense of cane. It's also terroir driven as in result to its cultural diversity within the country, which is huge. That picture I just showed was actually at the Novofogo Distillery. Super excellent, interesting culture. And in those trips, I traveled kind of to 3 different cities within Brazil for the book. I really became aware of something I want to talk about here, which is like, people don't understand that if cachaça were actually, well, in Brazil, it gets complicated, I talk about in the book, but in Brazil, they have insane taxes that go on for spirit production. They do kind of in lots of places throughout Central South America and the Caribbean, but in Brazil it's pretty intense. So all of this cachaça that would be normally called cachaça is actually not called cachaça because they don't want to pay the taxes on it. And it's aguardiente, right? But still, cachaça is like the 6th most consumed beverage in the world, and only 1% of it leaves Brazil. 1% of that. So people just drink cachaça like crazy in Brazil. But
there's like 4,000 something documented distilleries, but then the estimate is like 40,000 actual distilleries.
Exactly. And this is like, you think you know, you have no idea. I was so amazed. I went to a distillery with a woman-run distillery that this woman ran with a water mill sugarcane press. And it was like that. I feel like there and Haiti were 2 of the places that I went where I was just like, I can't even believe this is real. Like, and the flavor nuance and like all the different stuff that people get from these different sugarcane varietals and everything. It was just super amazing. And I learned an abundance in Brazil. I know we're not talking about, talking about sugarcane in this, but like also I didn't know anything. I mean, I was amazed at how little I knew about grape distillates. I was just like, oh my God. Going to Bolivia and Peru, I was like, I knew nothing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
there's thousands of types of cane. There's it's really these old school production types. I mean, with Agua, we have the water mill, right? So we're literally using electricity through the production of the process. It's just super old school, and it's amazing to see in action.
It's amazing, and yeah, I just thought it was truly, beautiful and magnificent and well worth seeing. And when I first wrote this book, I told the publisher, I'm like, I'm not sure if people watching know, but there's a cookbook out there, the Franklin Barbecue Cookbook. And the Franklin Barbecue Cookbook is one of the best-selling cookbooks of the last, decade. And it's funny about that fact is that a lot of the recipes in there are contingent upon this massive smoker that they want you to build. And I was just like, well, no one's going to build that smoker. Like, what, 1% of the people that buy this book, maybe probably 0.05% are going to actually build this smoker. And this was before COVID. But I was like, I want this book to serve as like an armchair voyeurism into these different cultures. Like, yeah, you may not be able to go to Haiti and see these Claren production. You might not be able to go to Brazil. You might not be able to go to Jamaica, to any of these different places, but you can make a cocktail or drink a spirit neat and have an idea of what this place is like. So that's kind of a tangent, but that's where it is there. So next slide. Oh, well, this is just Jamaica again. So one of the things that I didn't know that I thought I did know, I thought that all sugarcane fields were always burnt. I don't know why I thought that.
Definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not in many places, probably like lots of places. But when I went to go write the book, literally no one was burning their fields. So I was just like, can I just go to some field where someone is burning? Please.
Show me a burn field.
Yeah, yeah. And so this was in Jamaica. Hand harvesting in Jamaica, which is actually kind of rare there. I also was surprised by the different, hand harvesting and machine harvesting. And I think that we tend to romanticize the hand harvesting of everything. But, those machines, they cost a fortune, but they are extremely efficient. I have a picture of one here. They're literally like, I forget how I described them in the book. It's like a what do you call those little, there it is. What do you call those? They're like action figures. and they made a movie about it. Transformer. It's like a
Transformer.
It's like a Transformer.
I was getting there.
It's a Transformer woolly mammoth is what I think they were. It's like things, and it's like everything's going crazy. So yeah, what should we don't even need. There's only this one and another one, right? And I think I'm running out of time. But I think they're both Brazil. They're both.
We're doing fine. Here's what you got. You got this guy right here.
Oh, and that guy. Okay. Yeah. So let's. Yep. So let's do this guy. Okay. So this is Martinique. So some things that I thought was what I really want to focus on about one of my big realizations was traveling to Martinique and is an experience because it's still a colony, right? So many places are not colonies anymore, but you spend euros there, and the workers there get paid in euros. They get paid the French minimum wage. They get the 6-week French paid vacation. They get all these things, and that was super eye-opening to me in an industry that, people are like, rum's cheap. Yeah, it's not cheap because it's easy work. It's not cheap because it's easy to produce. I mean, yes, you have to, in order to ferment, you need sugar, and sugarcane is obviously sugar. But I have people who are like, oh, well, that agriculture is expensive and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, yeah, rum should be more expensive. You can do a bunch of research out there about the really horrible stories that happen to people from harvesting different types of sugarcane or different types of products. And forget sugarcane, just like pick an industry. Agriculture is very hard work and very hard on the body. And I was really inspired to go to Martinique and meet these people who were earning seriously good money. And one of the things I thought was really interesting is that people from St. Lucia, which is like, if you're at the beach in Martinique, you can see St. Lucia, it's just like right there. You can actually, people would actually come over to earn those euros, So that was a big realization to me. That's something that, in my own privileged state, never really thought about that much. And then thinking about colonized places and like still being colonized and the muddy waters that are surrounded in that in that relationship. But the benefit that I could see was that people were getting paid a fair wage. And
absolutely.
So also rum agricole is great. Also, there's that. Full of flavor. But yeah, so I just want to do the last one because I'm kind of going in reverse here. One more. Sorry. This guy. So Cuba. So this is the thing I kind of talked about in the beginning. Rum now, I feel like there's a long history of rum where people were like, okay, we don't want to be super funky and estery like Jamaican rum, right? Which was kind of like what rum was first like. It was this high octane, not very refined, pot stilled, they call it Kill Devil. It was pretty gnarly stuff, right? Rudimentarily made. And then slowly but surely, people started making different styles of rum, going in towards your French style because they had sugar beets, so they didn't have to use molasses, which is what most people made their rum out of. They could just use the sugarcane juice, henceforth rum agricole. And then you have the Spanish. Super late, very late to the slavery abolition game. They got chased out of South America in different revolutions, going all the way through Central America, and then fled to Cuba and Puerto Rico, and set up sugarcane shop with a bunch of slaves. And in this time period, the column still, the coffee still was introduced, the big column still, which was able to allow people to create more refined rum. And, in my history, in being interested in rum and flavors, or spirits in general, I've always been like, I'm not interested in column still. Get out of here, column still. I want funk. I don't want the highly rectified. I don't want all this stuff. I want, boutique, tiny copper pot still stuff. And not to say that I don't want that. Okay, I do. I tend to gravitate that way. But the interesting thing, and then what really blew my mind about going to Cuba, is that the Cubans developed this style of rum, which they call ron ligero, light style rum, right? And it became very popular because European palates were like, this is nice. This is a little bit more around the like smooth cognacs, the smooth whiskeys, Irish whiskeys that we're used to. It's not like abrupt and aggressive and like high octane, high flavor. And they took a lot of pride in their light rum. I spoke to, there's only 8 or 9 master distillers in Cuba, because it's a communist country, so people kind of go to and fro. But I talked to a man there, and I was talking about sugarcane. Like, let's talk about sugarcane and sugarcane this and sugarcane that. I wasn't necessarily that interested in the distillation process. And he was like, well, he said the greatest quote. He said, the thing about sugarcane is that you can never straighten a bent tree. Meaning, if the base material isn't good, you can never fix it down the line. So you have to make sure your sugarcane and your raw material is taken care of. He's like, but we perfected this style of rum that the whole world tried to copy, right? And he's true. He's right? So lots of rums out there whose names shall not be spoken are basically just sugarcane vodka, right? Distilled to the point of no return, not a lot of flavor. They've taken this light rum, this ligero rum, too far. The great thing about going to Cuba for me was seeing the respect and the admiration of making a well-made light rum. And I want to end on that because I think it's just most cocktails that we know in the classic cocktails in the cocktail world for rum, come from Cuba. Right, so the daiquiri, the mojito, the Hotel Nacional, the Floridita, they're really kind of one of the only places that had like a strong cocktail culture. And now we can experiment and move from there and like add on and do different things. We don't get Havana Club in this country, in the United States of America. You can get it elsewhere. If you can ever travel again, I highly recommend picking it up in any duty-free anywhere, which is great. But we do have different people, and Guillaume will talk about it later, making different rums that are not this necessary ron ligero, but blending together a rum that is just perfectly blendable. And that was a real revelation to me about going to Cuba. Seeing the pride that people have in making a rum that is, I hate using the word smooth, but literally smooth. Like, yay, this is smooth. We succeeded in making this smooth thing, and taking so much pride in that. And then being able to take that point of pride and then adapting it to my own cocktail, creations and the things that I want to create. So I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Very cool. I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
First thing, what's the first tiki drink that you ever tasted and loved?
Oh boy. I think the first tiki drink I ever tasted and loved was probably a Mai Tai. I actually put the recipe in the book. Julie Reiner's Mai Tai, which we served at Lani Kai, was unlike any other. I mean, Mai Tais are famous for all-inclusive resorts and, food coloring. It doesn't have to be that way. Julie's Mai Tai, she puts agricole rum in it actually, and Jamaican rum. So it's funky, it's robust. Have you guys ever had Tiki Adam on here?
No, we haven't. We just got started though.
We have Tiki Adam on. So Tiki Adam, he actually is my neighbor at Leyenda. He makes fantastic different orgeats and things. Anyway, so he made this toasted almond orgeat, some Pierre Ferrand orange curacao. Like, it's a delicious cocktail. We actually flowed the agricole rum on top, and it blew my mind. But that's tied with a jungle bird. I'm just a sucker for a jungle bird. I love them. That's like a desert island drink right there, is a jungle bird.
All right. What was the moment that you knew you had to write this book?
I was actually already writing it, which is kind of a.
What, you knew you had to write it?
Well, no, because I was like, I'm gonna write this book. But then I knew I had to write it when actually, not to go back to the cachaça thing, but when I couldn't find any information in English on cachaça, I was just like, why?
Yeah.
Right. Why can't I find more than a paragraph on this distillate, and I was like searching JSTOR. My cousin's a professor, so I got our.
That's fair.
I was like, this book needs to be written because there is no place that compiles all of these things together in one location. So yeah, probably then, as I was writing in my living room.
Yeah, and I love how you guys do base material down, right? So that's a really cool way of breaking it down. So nice job on that. Congrats. All right. What's next for you?
What's next for me? Like in my life?
Who knows? Whatever you want to talk about.
What's next for me? Well, since COVID started, I've been doing a lot of different things, and I've been dedicating a lot of my time to trying to ensure that my own bar and restaurant survives, and the few people that still continue to work for me can have a job. But I also I've been working a lot on the Independent Restaurant Coalition, which is, if anyone's watching, go to saferestaurants.com. We are trying to lobby for a bill to help independent bars and restaurants like mine, like so many other people out there. So what's next for me is I've been like, I'm like quasi AOC, mini AOC. I've been like having conference calls with Schumer. I've been having conference calls with Schumer and like Nydia Vasquez and my congresswoman, you've got Clark, and like I have a conference call today with a congressman in Indiana. And I like it. Like I like thinking that I'm going to save my own bar restaurant, but I really like that I'm trying to help the industry in a whole. So awesome. I'm pretty dedicated to it. So that's what's next in the foreseeable future.
It's super important work. Super important.
After that, I have some stuff in the pipeline, but probably not going to come public with it for another month. Maybe I'll like come on and do a special. Woohoo! Guess what, guys?
Right on. All right, we got a question from the crowd here. Favorite style of orgeat? This guy says he's playing with a 5-spice pecan orgeat right now.
Ooh, yum. Well, I'll shout out Tiki Adam again. Orgeat Works.
There you go. Laid it up.
Yeah, Orgeat Works is really great. He does a toasted almond orgeat. You can actually get it on Amazon. That's really great. He also does a macadamia nut orgeat that I think is fantastic. Here at Leyenda, our head bartender, Leanne, actually, we were supposed to have it on our menu, then COVID happened, but our summer menu, she worked on a drink with a kind of a reduce, reuse, recycle orgeat with pistachios and avocado pits. And that was really interesting. Very nutty, very woody, and, excellent. It kind of stretches out the idea of what orgeat is. I can tell you what I don't like. I don't like the marzipan-y orgeat. That's not my idea of a fun time.
Got it. Awesome. Well, let's bring on Guillaume from Plantation now for a moment. How you doing, Guillaume?
Good. I've been enjoying a delicious Jamaican rum all that time, so my English is definitely much better now.
Good. We are doing English today. Why don't you give us a little background on Plantation and some of the elements that we talked about?
Well, I was listening to Ivy talking about all the different cultures of spirits and how cultures are so much linked to the production of spirits, and this is exactly what we do, but in the rum world, where we do believe very firmly at Plantation, and since very early on, since the beginning of the 2000s, that humans, the print of humans, has a lot to do with the style of rum that they produce in each country of origin, or sugarcane spirit whatsoever, if we talk about cachaça, of course. And and then she talked about the fact that when you drink a daiquiri, you don't think like you're somewhere in the northern countries of Europe, or that's true, because when you drink a spirit with the style of that spirit, it transports you somewhere. This is the power of what a great bartender has, is to transport the customers, the guest, into a destination, a specific destination. And that's what we do with rum. When you drink plantation Barbados or plantation Jamaican, like the Jamaica from plantation, we aim at transporting you into that country of origin. Yes,
There you go.
there we go. So this one is transporting you to Peru. And we like to think that all the people that we work with in each country of origin, and they usually tell us so, are very proud of our work at respecting and treating all those different cultures to a point where we put them on a stage where the whole world can see. And we're not writing books because we're not very good at writing at Ferrand, at Maison Ferrand, and at Plantation, but we're much better at expressing ourselves with all the beauty of spirits, and definitely rum. And that's what Plantation is about. Terroir, I use that term, but this is so French in many ways. And I think it's more like cultures of rum. And cultures of rum is about plantation rum. It's about destinations where when you drink one of our rums, we do everything we can to put you on a plane and get you there. And so that's what we're trying to do. Now, she also talked very in a very good way about blending. And those different cultures are very much like colors on a canvas when you're using them in a blend. She talks about this with the more neutral rums that sometimes could be spiked with a little bit of more like robust, hot steel, high fermentation, not to say any name, Jamaican rums. Well, this is what you do when you blend to give an expression of molasses or sugarcane or the cane itself, just for the pleasure of give you a snapshot of the Caribbean, of Central America, or why not blending Central America with a little bit of Caribbean, or why not blending, for example, like we did on some of our single cask releases, Guyana and Jamaica together. It works very well. I mean, that's what we did for the OFTD. We blended Guyana, Barbados, and Jamaica, and the result was basically an eight-legged furry beast that is much more cuddly than you think, but it's the magic.
Is that an official tasting note?
Rums.
Is that an official tasting note? Like a furry beast?
Yeah, that was my tasting note this morning. But so, anyways, that's what Plantation is all about. Okay, and I see she's got 3 stars right there on the bar. 3 stars. People say, oh yeah, that's the white rum from Plantation. Okay, so by the way, to that term, classification, that's like the hardest exercise for rum. Is trying to do a worldwide classification of whiskey. Guess what? Whiskeys are classified by countries of origin. And to me, it should be the same probably with rum, where you have Jamaican rum, Barbados rum, and then you go inside and you look at what's under the hood, and then you have a classification within the country. Just like brandy, you have cognac and Armagnac. You have a column still one and you have a pot still one, and they've been coexisting for a long time, but we don't classify brandy just by column or pot. So, in that case here, we have a rum, not just a white rum, that was super hard for us to make because we wanted to, one, enter the white rum category, which is a very large category and very hugely populated, and 2, make sense. It's like, why are we going to make a white rum that is neutral? It's okay. I don't have anything against very light rums or very rectified rum. Ivy said it very well. It's not about super rectified, not good, or super potent, respectful. No, you can have very refined and very rectified. It's not a problem. What we wanted to do is give the rum drinker and bartenders an expression of the cane, but not very vegetal like an agricole, a white agricole would be. Not too much of that herbaceous, beautiful, like a secondé, fusel oil quality that I love as a French guy, but also give a little bit of that molasses context to white rum that sometimes we miss. So we decided to blend 3 different cultures. So put 3 different colors on the canvas and paint with that. We have an unaged Barbados, which is used really for the structure of the pot mixed with column. So you have column and pot together. In Barbados, usually you have 10-15% of pot still. That really brings a very nice backbone to it. Well, guess what? This is the backbone of that blend. Unaged Barbados from West Indies Rum Distillery. And we also use some Trinidad, but it's a very lightly aged Trinidad, vat aged Trinidad, where you don't have a lot of extraction from the wood, so the color is very light. And then there is very small amounts of aged pot still Jamaican rum and unaged, what we call high esters. So high esters Jamaican rum from Long Pond, where we have some high esters that clock at 600 or 700 grams of esters per hectoliter of pure alcohol. So it's pretty potent, but not too much, because guess what? You put too much of Jamaican rum in your blend, and then it tastes just like Jamaican rum. It's that kind of power, So you have to be careful with the spice. And it took a long time for Alexander to really put this together. But here it is. That's our plantation 3 stars. And we wanted to give you a snapshot of the Caribbean with 3 different cultures, something light, structured, with a spice to it, so that you could have always a beautiful cane to play with in your cocktail. That's it. Enjoy.
Perfect. Yeah, so we're going to have a cocktail here. Who's making it, Ivy or Guillaume? Just kidding. So if you guys want to make this one at home,
I'm drinking it.
Pass it off to Ivy. He's drinking it. Here's the spec for the Brooklyn Borough. I'll hand it off to Ivy now to break this down for us.
Sure. So this cocktail, you guys can, I guess it's gone, but I'll walk you through it. So this is essentially a mule recipe. When we first opened Leyenda, we were looking around and we're like, all right, we kind of had different types of categories that we wanted to hit, and we didn't really have a mule. Mules are great for a few different reasons. Usually they are not that expensive to put on your menu. So that's good. Also, they're delicious. And you have ginger on your menu, and ginger can be polarizing. People either love it or hate it, but people who go to cocktail bars love flavors. So they tend to love it. So this drink is a little bit of fresh squeezed lime juice, half an ounce of pineapple juice. We happen to do our pineapple juice with our pineapple juice fresh squeezed, but if you use canned, I get it, it's fine. Half an ounce of ginger syrup. The ginger syrup we do by extracting ginger through a juice extractor, and then on a stove doing 2 parts sugar to 1 part water, bring it to a simmer to melt the sugar, and then you're good. Yeah, big dash of Angostura, and 2 ounces of the Plantation 3 Star. This rum, I think, is perfect for this drink. A little bit spicy, has a little bit of flavor to combat the ginger and the bitters. And it's really delicious. Also, many puns in one drink. Brooklyn burro. Burro means mule or donkey in Spanish. That's what this drink is. Burro. We're in the borough of Brooklyn. Haha.
See what you did there.
I'm a
nice.
We literally have so many puns on the menu here at Leyenda that I have to limit the staff to 3 puns per menu for a drink. Like, just 3.
Gotta have fun with it.
Then some ice. Shake it up.
I feel like I should cheer.
I know, right? I actually wasn't even going to drink this because I'm going to go I picked up tennis in COVID. That's my COVID activity is tennis. I'm taking a lesson after this, but this drink is mostly just too good not to drink. So I'm gonna drink it anyway.
There you go.
And
while you're doing that, there's a question here. What's your favorite cocktail to drink at home?
Well, it depends. I'm kind of lazy, so I don't usually like.
You're not alone.
A lot at home, and if I do juice, I just kind of do like a juice blend, like a little. I drink a lot of Negronis at home. I drink a lot of caipirinhas and any sort of muddled citrus drink. I drink a lot of at home because all I need is like I don't have to make simple syrup. I just like throw some sugar in, muddle a lime, put some booze in, and drink it. Those tend to be my go-tos because, especially, my favorite thing to do is drink like a caipirinha or like a tea punch or whatever, made like in an old jam jar or ball jar. So I was like sugar, lime, muddle it up, booze, ice, shake the crap out of it, open up the jar. Do you want to put some soda water on top? Yeah. If you can't, but then it's just like easy peasy. Get it done.
Right on.
Still good. I still got it.
We'll put the spec back up. If you guys want to post it, that's always appreciated. Hashtag Tiki by the Sea at Tiki by the CNJ. All right.
Oh, what I want to say before we go on.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
For the virtual tip jar thing that people are doing, if you want to do it, no pressure. But I just want to put it out there that I'm actually going to donate 50% of it to the Legal Aid Society's immigration law unit. The Legal Aid Society helps everyone all over the country, but they're really heavy in New York, and I've worked a lot with them, and they've helped people on my staff and others. It's just a really cool organization. Or if you feel like donating to them directly, by all means, go ahead. But immigration problems haven't stopped just because COVID's here, and things are actually a lot worse. So if you have the time,
yeah, that's great. The Venmo's here, Ivy-Mix, and it's also in the Crowdcast. The link is up there. So donating to a good cause, always appreciated. This is how you stay in touch with Ivy. We're going to move on to a quick module. 5 questions with the Tiki fam. We'll be right back to you guys. Thank you so much. Really awesome stuff. Faith, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry.
There we are.
Hello.
You've been waiting so patiently, and here we are. Here we are.
Well,
so you're in DC. Where in DC are you?
I live in Northeast DC. I don't know how familiar you are with the quadrants, but like I'm on Maryland Avenue, so I can see the Capitol when I cross the street.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Do you ever throw anything at it?
What?
Do you ever throw anything at the Capitol?
It's not quite that close. If I threw something, it wouldn't really come anywhere near. It's like a good 12 blocks, but it's big and imposing, and you can see it.
All right. You ready for your 5 questions?
Yes, I guess so.
All right. Favorite Tiki by the Sea memory?
Oh, favorite Tiki by the Sea memory. That's hard. There's so many good ones. Maybe when I was a volunteer, I really enjoyed sitting around with all of the other volunteers afterwards, drinking baby mind erasers with that espresso soda that we had. That was great. But like going to the Mai Tai, nothing really tops that. That was one of the best experiences ever. That was at the Tiki by the Sea alumni, the boardwalk. Awesome. I could talk about my favorite parts of Tiki for a long time. A lot of
Very good. I'm glad. All right. On the flip side, worst cocktail you had at Tiki. Worst cocktail.
Worst.
Yeah, can't all be roses.
Oh gosh, I don't even really remember not liking any of them. Oh god, when my first year as an attendee, it became a thing to like ice each other with slow and lows. Does chugging a slow and low count?
Yeah, that counts.
I don't recommend that. I love slow and low. I don't recommend chugging.
We don't condone that, of course.
What?
Steven definitely does not condone. Here's Steven, and she's got something to say.
We don't condone icing. You know we don't
know.
condone icing. No icing.
That's it. We just needed that. All right. Thanks for your contribution. Yep, that's it. All right. All right. Weirdest thing you've ever seen in Wildwood. Weirdest thing.
Weirdest thing?
Weirdest.
Gosh, some of the hoodies at the on the boardwalk, the hoodies and sweatsuits that you could get, and there were ones that said like it had like Wu-Tang and then said Hennessy and Ciroc and all they were very weird. Those
we should have got one of those.
I'm
mad I don't own one right now.
There were a bunch of people who bought them. And I think some people had the Wu-Tang W put on the rear end of the pants. Which I appreciate.
It's a must.
Wu-Tang is forever, girl.
Yeah, it is forever. Yeah. All right. Favorite meal in Wildwood? Favorite meal?
Favorite meal? Gosh, there was so much awesome barbecue when I was there. My first session. And when I was a volunteer, we got there a day early, and your parents were grilling, so that was fantastic. And the clam bake.
When they're not doing the mass one too, you know?
Yeah. Least favorite though was fried Oreos on the boardwalk. Those are very anticlimactic.
Fair enough. I've never eaten that. But it's good that it's an option. All right. Last one. What's new in your world? Talk about what's going on.
Not a whole lot. Not working right now. Unfortunately, because COVID. I've just been spending a lot of time volunteering. One of my friends started an organization called Friends and Family Meal that gets bags of food to furloughed and unemployed hospitality workers. And they also get a lot of the food from local farms that usually sell to restaurants and now can't. So I've been doing a lot with that. And then helping, I actually have another friend who started an organization called Bartenders Against Racism. And we've been supply tending since we can't really bartend right now. We go to the protests and set up and hand out water and medical supplies. So that's really all I've been doing. Those two
terms for me. Supply tending. That's pretty good.
Supply tending. That's what we've been doing.
Supply tending. Right.
Yep.
Well, good luck with it. It's been crazy for everybody. It's awesome seeing you.
It's so good to see you.
Let's bring everybody back now. Let's bring everybody back. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being part of it. It was a blast. We tried to do it from the lobby. It sort of worked. And Ivy, you're awesome. Good luck over there. Keep fighting the fight. Look forward to voting for you soon. And have a good rest of your evening.
Sick. All right. Well, I miss everyone. Drink more sugarcane. It's good for you.
There you go. That's the lesson here. Sugarcane is good for you.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye.